I want to go ahead and give you a whole bunch of tools that I use in building a bunch of my different workflows. And they're not like full workflows themselves, but they're bits and pieces and parts of a lot of the different workflows and tools that I've been making. And I figure I might as well just put them all into one place and go ahead and give them to you. That way you don't have to go and like try to scrounge around and find a whole bunch of different pieces and parts to copy and paste from this workflow or that flow. I'm just going to go ahead and put it all into one place and just go ahead and let you have it. So real quick, I'm not necessarily going to go through each of these because I cover all of them in other videos that I have, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what I'm giving you and a little bit of an explanation of each. So over here, what we have is an extract text from nearly anything feature. This is something that I use in a lot of my my RAG agents. I use it in data processing. So if I have like a Google Doc or a text document or a PDF or something, and I need to get the text out, but I'm not entirely certain which type of format the file is going to come in at the start. I'm just putting stuff maybe into a Google Drive and letting the AI agent figure it out. This is the process I would use right here. And so I have, what it is it's an if node that then branches into either a download link or it's going to branch into a Google Drive link. My AI agents, I always make sure that I build them to be able to either take an upload or a drive link, depending on how I want to attach it. And I don't want to have to think about, well, I need to make sure I use this bot over here because that can take Google Drive links and this one is for other file links. I just build it all in one place. And so I built it here. It's going to figure out which type it is. It's going to process it so that it's able to be passed forward correctly. And then we just have a whole bunch of download nodes. We got some Google Drive download nodes if we're using Google Drive links. If you're using images, it's able to process images. If it's a PDF, it'll process those and extract text from it. It'll extract text files and Excel files, CSV files, whatever. And it'll all pass it forward into a single edit field node that's just going to call it text. And then that text you can then pass to an AI agent in order to process however you want. And so I will admit, if your spreadsheet and you were trying to process it, if it's too big, it's not going to be able to handle it. If you got a few hundred rows, maybe 1,000 or 2 rows, definitely no problem. Just be aware that if you get too big on a spreadsheet or too big on your files, it's not going to be able to do it. But really helpful for smaller stuff. If you got like a 10-page document, it'll be able to extract the text, no problem, pretty much no matter what type of file it is. Next, we've got my creating a formatted Google Doc tool. This is something that I found on the n8n forums, and I was able to update a little bit in order to make it a bit better for myself. And I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, as well as an additional replacement for this code node here if you want your document to have a table of contents when it makes it. So what it does is you have a trigger. I don't really need a trigger there, but you're processing whatever information. The AI agent is most likely or possibly going to output markdown formatting. You don't necessarily have to have markdown formatting. I guess you could have it input however you want, but this node here is going to translate markdown to HTML. If you are having just HTML, you can bypass all of this and you can delete these. But this is going to take your document name from wherever it is. It's going to take your HTML content either from this markdown node or from wherever it's coming from. It just needs to be HTML right here. And then you want to attach the Google Drive folder ID that you want your Google Doc to be created in. Now, this tool is really cool because if you've been building an n8n and you have tried to make stuff in Google Docs before, you've probably tried to pass Markdown, you've tried to pass HTML, you've tried to pass plain text, and it always just posted as plain text. This one right here will go ahead, it'll run it through this code node here. I don't know what it's doing. It's processing it the way Google Docs requires it to be. And then we send it through this HTTP node using your Google Drive credentials, not Google Docs, to this URL as a post. We upload this information and it'll create properly formatted Google Docs for you with the headers and bolding and hyperlinking and all of that, all right? So you no longer have to worry about your Google Docs not looking pretty. You don't have to worry about exporting it as a PDF because that was the only way to make it look good. Now you can do Google Docs. And like I said, I give you 2 versions of the code, one that just makes it look pretty and the other will actually create a table of contents for you as well. This one here is a tool that you can use in order to pull information from multiple Google Sheets tabs all at once. All right, and so if you use just a kind of a standard Sheets node, right, this one right here, so we just get rows, it only gets rows from a single tab in a Google Sheets document. And yeah, I guess you could technically set up another one to get the next one and set up another one to get the next one. But then you have a different issue, because if you get one sheet, you're going to get an item for every single row in that sheet. And so like what, you have to limit or try to aggregate, and then like it creates this big old headache trying to get information from multiple tabs all at once from a single spreadsheet document. Instead, use this tool. You use, I'm just grabbing a sheet, we're downloading the file. In this case, it's going to then download it as a CSV file. It's then going to extract the, actually, I guess we don't need to do that. We may not need to do that. You may not need any of those first two nodes, but this is what I had as a tool. But you're going to get your sheet ID from your Google Drive trigger. You may not need this download, actually. I just don't want to delete it without thinking it through. Yeah, let's go ahead and delete that. There we go. All right, it's going to pass it through this code node. It's going to extract the sheet names. We then loop through using this HTTP node. It's going to extract the, it's going to grab all the data from that sheet using this URL request, basically. So you want to make sure you set up your Google Sheets credentials in order to do this one. I think this one was Google Sheets credentials as well. Yep. So set up your Google Sheets credentials, and then it's going to pass all that information from each sheet individually forward. We then take this code node and we're going to take all of that information and we structure it all together as a single item and pass it all forward. All right. And so that's how you're able to get all of the information from all of your sheets from a single Google Sheets document in one shot. All right. This tool down here, this one, what it does is it creates a Google Sheets document that has all of the column headers already filled in. So often when you're creating a Google Sheets, well, you can create the sheet, right? Oh, that's great. But just because you created a sheet doesn't mean that you can fill it in properly and build it out as part of your workflow unless you use this process here. So I create the sheet, I use a Google Drive move node just to move it to where I need it to actually be in my Google Drive. We then have an edit fields node. The edit fields node is where you're going to set your sheet columns, okay, your column heading names. And you comma separate them with no white space between the comma or the end of the last column name, the comma, and then the beginning of the next column name, okay? If you want a space inside of the name of the column, you can add the space, but no white space at the end of the column name or the beginning of the column name. Otherwise, you get extra space and that you don't necessarily intend to have. All right, we run it through this code node. This code node will properly structure it in the way that it needs to be in order to be able to be passed through and create the columns. What it does here is it's adding in those column headers at the beginning of a sheet. And you'll notice there's an error here. This error is because I haven't created a sheet here yet. So when it creates the sheet, it creates the ID that then gets passed into here. It's going to create the ID. It's going to add in and append those rows in the same instant, more or less, because there's nothing in it. There's no columns for it to attach to. And so otherwise you might have issues if you were appending, but because it's a blank sheet, it's going to append those column names right away. But then there's an issue that it actually adds them in twice, one for the column name and then one for the first item in that row, okay? And then we have to go have this one here to remove a row, and we're gonna remove the second row, and that is what it's gonna do in order to create your column headers with no extra items under them. All right, next, we have an exponential backoff system. So if for some reason you have a tool that you're using, that you're calling the API, and you seem to be calling it frequently, that you might have issues with hitting the API rate limit, I'm going to go ahead and give you this process right here. It's an exponential backoff. It's just some code that's checking, it's creating a timer, more or less, that is going to run through this wait node. This wait node is going to have more and more longer time frames on it for when you every time it passes through this loop here. And each time it passes through the loop, it's going to make it longer and longer. And that's what this does here. It's looking for the retry counter, and the retry counter is being passed through. You'll notice it creates an error, and then retry counter and status. And then it comes through the wait node. The wait node will add longer and longer time. If the retry counter is greater than 10, it's just going to error out. If not, and then it comes back through. If this errored for some reason, it's then going to try this again. It's going to add more time over and over again. So it's an exponential backoff system just in case you have a system that you want to make sure you're not hitting your rate limits. All right, this one right here was another workflow that I gave away. That's why I haven't set up my credentials yet. What it does is it will download a document from your Google Drive. And in this case, I use for transcripts. And so I make lots of videos. I then get a transcript from that video. And there's lots of ums and uhs. And even in this video, as I'm sitting there thinking about what I'm about to say, right, I go, I don't intend to actually cut that because, I like my videos being genuine. I try to show you guys that this is actually how I work, right? But anyway, it's going to pull the transcript. It's going to extract the text using this extract from file node. We're going to lock down the name of the document and the text from the extract from file node there in this like edit field node. We're then going to create a new document, move it to where I want it to be. We're then going to set my information one more time, just in case. We run it through this code node here. All of our text is coming through this code node, which is going to create chunks of 3,000 words. All right. And we do that because if you want to clean your transcripts using an AI agent, if your transcript is longer than the output limit of the AI agent, it's not going to give you the entire transcript. So that's why we chunk it first for about 3,000 words. That's, 5 pages worth. We then pass it through the AI agent. The AI agent has a system prompt that just says you're a transcript cleanup agent, and then it'll go through and it'll clean it up. It'll remove the ums and uhs, and it'll try to fix words that seem like they were incorrect, and then it adds it back into the Google Doc that we just created. And it adds all of it, and then you'll have a nice clean transcript that still has all the timestamps on it, but then you can upload that to YouTube or wherever you want. All right. Speaking of this process right here, we have this one. I use this one all the time. It creates a new Google Doc, moves it into the Google Drive folder that I want it to, and then updates it with whatever text that I had. So I'll usually have like an AI agent right before here that needs to write something for me, but I need that something to be created into a new Google Doc. I use this one, so I'll just come here, grab that, copy, paste it right into a workflow, and then I have a process that makes my Google Docs and adds the content to it. All right, next, this one, Reddit. Sometimes you're using Reddit, you're getting posts from a Reddit subreddit somewhere. If you do that and you just kind of run this, you'll notice, and I don't have, this is my new self-hosted version, so I don't have my credentials set up in this one yet. But you'll notice that when you get your information from Reddit, you get all of this extra stuff that is just not usable. You just have no intention of ever using it. It would, if you try to pass it all to an AI agent, it would just gum up the works. So I just have a quick code node here that is going to pass out the title from the post, the self text from the post, and the URL of the post. All right, that way I can just go and grab it again. You can always come in here and add in additional information or have ChatGPT help you pull out additional information because you get all of this stuff over here. I have another code node for another one. I think it's my trending topics agent that I have available for free from my free school community. Link is in the description below if you want that one too. That will also pull out any links that the person in the comment references, and so I include that as well. So, but that's not this one. This one's just getting the title and the self text, and I use this generally to process, do I care about that post? Do I care about this post? Sort of stuff. All right, let's do this one down here. This process is for generating PDFs. So I mentioned way up here when I was talking about where was that one? Way over here. When I was creating my formatted documents, before I had this process, I would create PDFs. Well, that's this process right here. Sometimes I do want it to output as a PDF rather than as a Google Doc. So what we do is you have all of your information. I usually will have it all in one place on a Google Doc, usually already pre-formatted as HTML. And then what I do is if it's not, I'll have this AI agent here, take the information from the Google Doc and then translate it into HTML. But I use this node here for API-template.io. We just have it create a PDF from HTML endpoint. We give it the file, whatever you want to call it, the name. We pass the body of it in, and then just all this CSS to make the document actually look decent. And then we download it using this one from the download URL that we would get from API-template.io, and then upload it to Google Drive. That way, I can have my AI agents, process through. Often I'll do this for like my research bots. It'll process through some iterative loops of all this research it needs to do, adding information to a Google Doc, and then usually I have it added as HTML. And then if not, again, I'll have this AI agent in here. But the HTML code would then be sent into our node here, and then created a PDF. And then that PDF, it could become a lead magnet that I might give away. All right, let's see, where are we at? We've got get ID, label ID. So when you're dealing with Gmail, and I don't have one for what's Microsoft's email accounts. It's not OneDrive. It's Outlook. I don't use Outlook, so sorry. I use Gmail, and sometimes I need to be able to sort out my information based on labels. And if you don't know what your label IDs are, because they're just a kind of a random string of numbers, you can use this node right here. It's just a label resource operation get many, and you hook it up to your email account. And what it'll do is it will go and it'll pull out all of the IDs, and then you just need to find out the codes to then process to be able to do filtering for your emails. All right, pull from Drive and transcribe. This one is a nice simple one. I often will have this. If I don't want to do like this full big blown process over here, and I know what my file is, so over here it's like a Google Doc, specifically be a Google Doc. I can download it here, or more specifically, I can search in a file folder in my Google Drive account. You have a wait node for like 2 seconds, just because if you try to pass the ID right away, it doesn't necessarily do it so well. But then we download that Google Doc folder as a text file here. The Google file conversion would be text, and we run it through this extract node. Real simple. Often I have lots of Google Docs that get created by my AI agents, but then I need to then process that. I can just do that really quick to do that. All right. And then we have move items from one calendar to another. Sometimes you have items pop up in your automations that are being put onto one calendar, but you might need them to go onto a second calendar as well. This is a nice little process for that. So you have the Google Calendar trigger. When a new event is triggered on the source calendar, you then run it through this edit node. You throw in all these data points. I already added a whole bunch of them for you. And then you run it through this AI agent. If you want color, this is what this is for. So I added in some color fields here. Otherwise, it's going to output everything as a structured JSON. No, it's not. It's only identifying the color. I like my calendar to have color. But we give it all that information, tell it, here's the Google color ID, and you would want to change these color IDs for yourself. I have one for mandatory tasks, or one for mandatory events, and one for what I call task events. And then we pass it to this other calendar node here, which adds it to the target calendar. And so we just go ahead and start time, end time, and date, and all the information. That way it just gets put right onto the second calendar as soon as the one gets created. And then this last node right here is a nice little tool that you can use in order to be able to delete information out of a database based on how long it has been in that table. All right, so if you have a RAG database, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for that, because RAG is supposed to be there forever. But maybe you have a table that you want to be able to upload it to, query information, but you don't want it living there forever. Well, if you add this node right here and this code to the beginning of your workflow, what it's going to do is it's going to search through your table, and it's going to look for when the date added item for the table entry is more than a certain amount of time. And here I have 2 days, you can change that. But if it's been there for longer than that amount of time, it'll delete it from the table. And it's kind of just a self-cleaning feature for your Postgres tables. All right, and so that's my n8n Builders Toolkit. Most of these I use all of the time. I tend to be adding to this as I continue to be building my own workflows, but I'm going to go ahead and give this to you, just my gift to you. You'll be able to find that in my free school community. Just click the link down in the description below. And hopefully this video was helpful. Maybe you learned something or a process or two that you didn't know you were able to do in n8n. If so, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. It really does help get this information out there to those who need it. And if you want to take your automation journey even further, I recommend joining my advanced community. Just click the link in the description down below to go to the advanced community. We have all kinds of additional, more advanced workflows that I don't give away in my free community. You get priority access and support from me and my team. We're going to go ahead and answer your questions. We have 5 weekly calls where we actually go through and work on our community's workflows. They come in, they tell me what's going on, what's broken, what they want to build, and we go in and we help them do it because we want to be able to help you take your automation journey further in your business. And as always, I'm Bradford Carlton. Let's automate your success together.